Hello everyone, this is Hitachi. Today I'll be going through annexure A controlled well operation security. In the last video, Abhishek explained you the 12.1, 12.2 and 12.3 controls of operation security. So I'll continue further. So let's move on. A12.4 logging and monitoring. What's the objective of this control? To record events as well as secure the evidence. Security event logging and monitoring is examining the electronic audit logs for indications that unauthorized security related activities such as hacking have been attempted or performed on a system or application that processes, transmits, stores the confidential information. Event logging and monitoring it helps the organization to determine what has been recorded on the systems for follow-up investigation and if necessary the remediation procedures that what has been recorded so that they can perform the audit easily. ISO 27001 2013 standard classifies this control into four subsections. A12.4.1 that is the event logging, A12.4.2 that is protection of log information, A12.4.3 administrator and operator logs, A12.4.4 clock synchronization. Event logging. What is the control that is specified in ISO 27001 2013 standard? It is event logs recording user activities, exceptions, faults, and information security events shall be produced, kept, and regularly reviewed. So the standard states that the logs which contains user activities like login, logout, some of the exceptions that are generated when a user visits the website and performs any operation, the faults in the website, and the information security events, they should be produced, kept, and regularly reviewed. Register the information about access and actions of users, errors, events, etc. in the information systems. Send the logs which are generated by each one of these operations to a central server. They should be stored on a central server. And configure the system log server, which allows you to centralize all the logs on a unique server. Here, what do we mean by syslog server? The system log server is standard for message logging and can operate over a network with a client server application structure. A12.4.2 that is protection of log information. What is the control that is specified in ISO 27001 standard? The control states that the logging facilities and the log information shall be protected against tampering and unauthorized access. These logs they must be protected because they cannot be removed or modified by any unauthorized persons such as a hacker. Encrypt the event log archive files to ensure that the log data is secured for future forensic analysis as well as compliance and internal audits by hashing and timestamping the log data. Hashing and timestamping are two techniques to encrypt the logs. You should securely store the archived log data files by employing hashing and timestamping techniques. A12.4.3 that is administrator and operator logs. What is the control? The control states that system administrator and system operator activities shall be logged and the logs protected and regularly reviewed. The system should register information about all users regardless of the privileges that they have on the system. That is a basic level user as well as the admin level users. Both of the logs should be saved on the systems. Puma, that is privileged user monitoring and audit reports. What does it do? These are the solutions that closely monitor the user activity of the system administrators and operators specifically, and they give you detailed security reports for any specific period of time. All the audit trails should be captured to ensure that the log files that capture the activities of the system administrators and system operators they are protected from unauthorized access as well as threats. A12.4.4 that is clock synchronization. The control in ISO 27001:2013 standard specifies that the clocks of all relevant information processing systems within an organization or security domain shall be synchronized to a single reference time source. That all the clocks, if a company operates in multiple nations, should be synchronized to a central time zone. Synchronized clocks are essential for investigating events across multiple systems in the infrastructure. What happens if the system clocks are not synchronized? It may get difficult for you to determine whether two events are related if they happen at the same time or at a different time. For example, an event on one system triggers a failure on second system, but the clock on the first system is behind. In this case, the event that triggered the failure will appear to have occurred after the failure. Clock synchronization is important as accurate timestamps on audit log data is critical for troubleshooting. That is, when you get an error in an application, for troubleshooting, you require the clock to be synchronized for event correlation, as mentioned above, and for use as evidence in legal or disciplinary cases. A12.5 Control of operational software. What is the objective? The objective to ensure that the integrity of operational systems is preserved. The ISO 27001:2013 standard classifies it into A12.5.1 Installation of software on operational systems. A12.5.1 Control states that the procedure shall be implemented to control the installation of software on operational systems. It checks if there are any controls in the place for implementation of software. Why does a company require the implementation of these procedures for software installation? It is to minimize the risk of corruption of operational systems, that your operating systems such as Windows, Mac, Linux do not get corrupted. So the procedures shall be followed. Okay, technical vulnerability management. What is a vulnerability? A vulnerability is a weakness of an asset or control that could potentially be exploited by one or more threats. What is the objective? To prevent the exploitation of technical vulnerabilities. ISO 27001:2013 standard classifies this into A12.6.1 Management of Technical Vulnerabilities, A12.6.2 Restrictions on Software Installation. All of the hardware and software on the organization's network should be scanned using a vulnerability scanner. Why so? Because to identify the weaknesses in the configuration of the systems, as well as to determine if any systems are missing important patches or software such as antivirus software. So you should regularly update your antivirus software. And if you do not, a company can use a vulnerability scanner to determine whether you are updating the software regularly or not. A12.6.1 Management of Technical Vulnerabilities. The control specifies that the information about technical vulnerabilities of the information systems being used shall be obtained in a timely fashion. Such vulnerabilities, when they are exposed by the organization, they should be evaluated and appropriate measures must be taken to address the associated risk. This control, A12.6.1, it looks into three targets. The first target, that is timely identification of vulnerabilities. That is, sooner you discover vulnerability, the more time you will have to correct it. The late you do in discovering a vulnerability, it will be more difficult to correct it, and hackers can easily exploit the vulnerability. Assessment of organization's exposure to a vulnerability. That is a risk assessment procedure. A risk assessment should be done to identify and prioritize those vulnerabilities that are more critical to your assets as well as your business. Proper measures considering the associated risks. That is creating a risk treatment plan. Now think about the actions and allocation of resources you have to deal with them. A12.6.2 Restrictions on software installation. The control states that rules governing the installation of software by users shall be established and implemented. Some of the examples of such rules are: employees cannot download software from the internet or bring software from home without authorization. It is prohibited by the company. When an employee detects the need for use of a particular software, a request needs to be transmitted to the IT department. The request can be stored as a record or as evidence. If the software costs money, an analysis should be done as to whether there is another similar tool on the market that is cheaper or even free. If such tool is available, then you have to go with the open source or free tool. Now, top management should participate in the decision on the acquisition of new software. The strategic level managers should know which are the softwares that are used by the low level employees. Once the decision has been made, the IT department will proceed to include the software in their inventory and will install the software. A12.7, that is Information Systems Audit Considerations. Objective is to minimize the impact of audit activities on operational systems. ISO 27001 2013 standard classifies it into A12.7.1, that is Information Systems Audit Controls. The control in the standard specifies that audit requirements and activities involving the verifications of operational systems shall be carefully planned and agreed to minimize the disruptions to business process. So this control looks into planning and controlling how the audit activities are carried out, minimizing the impact of audit activities on day-to-day operations. Yeah, that's all for me now. Thanks for watching.